Hello and welcome to today's Pick a Card. We are taking a look today at what Spirit would like you to release, what they would like you to harness, and what rewards might be in store if you do so. So I've prepared 3 decks with some crystal towers on top, and I will show you those in a second. But before I do that, I wanted to share with you guys that I typically take some time before I start recording to pre-shuffle all the cards, to set my intentions, to clear my space, and I set aside my Astro Dice so that I would remember to use them in this reading. And I like to cleanse them right before I use them as well, so I cleanse them and set them down with intention. And so typically when I set them down, I kind of get an idea of where, even though these are pick a cards, the 3 readings will be different. I kind of get an idea of like a general theme through the dice. And I just wanted to share with you guys, take a look at how they sat down on my selenite plate. The 5th house, the Sun, and Leo. Now, if you don't know too much about astrology, this is basically all the same. This is all the same thing. The 5th house is ruled by Leo, or Leo is at home in the 5th house, and Leo is ruled by the Sun. The Sun also, therefore, represents the 5th house. This is very much all the same thing, which I think is just, it made me smile. But it kind of gives me like an indication of where these readings are headed, because we're thinking about what to release, what to harness. So going into this, we could be looking a lot at things revolving around our ego, our drive, and the things that bring us joy and creativity. But also the dice are literally just saying like, they are ready to go. They are camera lights action. They're like, I'm ready to shine. So we will let them do that very soon. Let me show you the 3 piles. First, we have pile or deck number 1, deck number 2, and deck number 3. Let me show you on deck number 1 for group number 1. I hope this shows up as beautifully as it is showing up right now. We got a small but mighty tiger's eye tower. Let me give you just a glance at what the deck looks like. The artwork. A beautiful deck with some gold detailing. My lighting is a little bit different today because I'm filming an evening reading. I just kind of felt like it. So I hope the lighting is okay for you guys. This is deck number 2, group number 2, pile number 2, tower number 2. This is rhodochrosite. And it has some beautiful like reddish and brownish layers in there. And then this is deck number 2, is like a 70s style artwork deck. One of my favorites. Beautiful cards. That is pile number 2. And then pile number 3, we have an amethyst tower. There's a beautiful layer of gold in there. It's not gold, it's just some type of discoloration. I'm not sure what it is. But for that, we're using the Cosmos Tarot and Oracle deck. I keep them together, so more options in this one. And the artwork is all different artists, so variety in pile number 3 with the Amethyst Tower. Okay, so enough talking. I'm going to give you a moment to see which pile is calling you, and then I will meet you at your reading. Timestamps are in the description below. Hi, pile number 1. This is your reading if you chose the Tiger's Eye. Beautiful reflections in there. I'm going to set this right up here so you know that you are in the right place, and then we are going to get right into your reading. We are taking a look at what Spirit wants you to release, what to harness, and possible rewards if you do so. So we will have 3 rows: what to release, what to harness, and rewards. And then we will pull a fair number of oracle cards. I was telling myself I want to keep it short and sweet, but I do love pulling an excessive amount of cards. So we'll see what happens. So for pile number 1, group number 1, what does group number 1 need to release? That is interesting because we have the Queen of Swords come out first thing, and as I was shuffling, I just looked out my window and I heard expectations. And I'm looking at like a way across the way there is a political sign that's kind of lit up. It's dark outside, but the political sign is lit up. And I don't know why, but I just heard expectations. So something that you might need to release is expectations. And with the Queen of Swords, that goes pretty nicely. We have the Knight of Coins. This might be expectations in financial matters. I'm sorry if this is this is very blinding up here, so I'll try to keep it down here. You did choose the Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye is very much a crystal that is really beneficial for drawing in wealth and money. So there might be a lot of, I do sense that there's probably a lot of thoughts revolving around abundance and monetary situations, because the Knights are all about action. The Queen of Swords is all about thinking over a plan. So there is like this, it feels like a want to control, to be in control. But remember, this is the row of what Spirit wants you to release. So this could very well be, yes, we have the Knight of Coins as well. Sorry, we have the Knight of Coins, yes, but we have the King of Coins that just came out. So very much there is, if you are in a position right now where you feel like you are not sure where money is going to be coming from, the Spirit wants you to release the fear that you have around this, because the Queen of Swords, when we think about the Queen versus the King, the Queen is a more passive energy. A King is a more active energy. The Queen oftentimes takes more things into consideration. And yes, these sound very typical, like stereotypical, but we are talking about archetypes here. Archetypes are literally stereotypical. So when we think of a queen is a lot of times more considerate around emotional matters than a king. A king might be more cutthroat and be able to make more harsh decisions than a queen would be, archetypally speaking. Of course, when it comes down to it, you have feminine and masculine energy within you. So these are things that are both within you. The King of Coins wanting to be in control of your material existence, and wanting to, there's just a sense of worry around that. And I'm feeling like this scurrying energy, like kind of like a, it's this energy of like a squirrel, like being like, okay, where am I going to find more food? Where am I going to hide it? Where am I going to keep it? I need to make sure I have enough. So this is a very, of course, if we're not talking about strictly financial matters, this can have to do with a job situation, or this can have to do with a relationship as well, and it's more so about the stability of things, overthinking how to achieve stability. But again, because we have that tiger's eye in the beginning, I do feel like this is definitely feels like concerns around money. And if that is the case, I do think that you are not wrong for being concerned, because these are very evolved energies that we got out here. So I don't think Spirit is not very harsh about like, oh, you need to, if they would have been harsh and kind of like more, I don't want to say condescending, but if they would have been more strict about it, they would have given us like the 5 of Coins, something to symbolize that you're in lack mentality. So I don't think you're coming from a place of lack mentality. I think you are coming from a grounded place of wanting to know, wanting to have a plan, wanting to understand where are things going, where are things coming from, what are my resources. But I think Spirit is just kind of like asking you to relax around this topic. And then we have what they want you to harness. Let's see what comes out. We have the Knight of Swords. So kind of stepping down from the Queen to the Knight is more so, you know, like not feeling like you have to figure it all out, but just kind of like taking it one step at a time. And yes, taking action, figuring things out as you go. Whoa. We did get... We got the 3 of Swords, and we got the King of Cups. This is very interesting because this line is telling us what they want you to harness. And so harness to me is like something, you know, what other ways that we use the word harness is to kind of control things, right? So you put a harness on an animal, you put a harness around things that can kind of like take off and take you with them. So it's not necessarily, because obviously we have the 3 of Swords here. The 3 of Swords is not necessarily a card that makes people jump for joy, but it also isn't inherently a negative card. It looks pretty harsh, yes, but the 3 of Swords also represents an expansion, an emotional expansion. It's interesting that we have, up here we have a sword and coins, very much on the material, concerns around the material plane. And then we have two cards representing swords and the King of Cups. I think that Spirit wants you to harness, which again, this means that this energy is already present. It's something that you already have at your disposal, is a focus around healing things that make you worry. So it's kind of like this first row of the concerns that you have, because again, because this energy, we're looking at kings and queens here, because this energy is very mature. It's like it's like fine-tuning. So because this energy is mature, but you're very concerned, when Spirit is kind of like, okay, but you don't need to be that concerned, so maybe take a look at why you're so concerned. That's what I'm getting here. Why is it that you're so concerned? There is a pain that you're not addressing, and this can have to do with, like I was saying earlier, like it is a expression of lack mentality, but not in its purest form. It is a more complex display of lack mentality, and more so, I think, a display of need for control. And I think Spirit is saying, focus, just like if your focus is here, they just want you to shift your focus a little bit. It's like from here to understand why you have this need for control. And this can have to do with times in the past that you didn't have control. But again, we have the King of Cups. So I do think there are a lot of things that you've already actively addressed. It's just fine-tuning. Because the King of Cups is very much somebody that has a good understanding of his emotional inner workings. But it might be that there might also be something that you've emotionally neglected. You've done a lot of work on in other areas, and perhaps like the material areas, but there's some kind of emotional realm within you that you've not addressed, and Spirit just wants you to shift your focus on that. So that might have to do with the fact that if you are, again, I'm just feeling that it's strongly like the material aspects. So if you're so focused on the material aspects, it's like where is money going to come from? Where can I get the most money? But are you addressing not just what career or job can you make the most money, but also what career or job is going to fulfill you emotionally while you make the most money possible in an area where you're emotionally fulfilled. I hope that makes sense. And again, if this is more relationship based, it would be kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, where can I find what kind of partner is going to make me feel really secure, but not just secure in a way that I'm bored at the end of the day, but secure in a way where I feel emotionally addressed and validated as well. Because that can happen. You don't want to settle for something just because it's secure and then be in a loveless relationship. And that's where it really takes some discernment on your part to not just understand your emotions, but act upon them, even if it's hard. That's where the expansion part comes in, even if it's difficult. There might be also, because we have 3 swords, there might be some conflicting feelings that you have or some conflicting opinions that you're dealing with, opinions from other people, somebody telling you, because right now I'm also getting a message here around there's something that you're emotionally focused on and you're getting advice from an important female in your life, and you're getting advice from an important male in your life, and you're out here trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to do something that really is fulfilling to you. Okay, we're going to take a look now at what are the rewards that you could be receiving if you release and harness these energies. Oh my goodness, apparently lots of rewards. You know what? Those are 3 cards. They wanted to come out like that, so I will take them. First of all, at the bottom of the deck, we have the 2 of Cups. That's a good sign. We have the 6 of Wands. We have the Sun, and we have the 3 of Cups. That is beautiful, but you know what I do want to say? I didn't show it because it didn't feel right, and now I can't find it, but I did see the 9 of Swords pop out. These 3 like fell out with so much vigor, but the 9 of Swords was peeking out. And the 9 of Swords is all about like worry and just this, and that's why I think it didn't fully come out. It was peeking out, but these wanted to come out because these are the rewards that you're facing, but there's some kind of area that you are completely like over analyzing and overthinking it. And I do think that Spirit wants you to engage your emotions more, because the 2 of Cups as well is making a choice that is emotionally fulfilling. We have the 6 of Wands, which is a card of great success and public success, so really being really good at what you choose to do. We have the Sun, which is like ultimate happiness and feeling really driven and feeling really excited to be doing what you're doing. And then we have the 3 of Cups, which means that, you know, the people, again, if there are like influences and differing opinions, it might be that people are telling you, like if like right now, if you're in between careers or something and you have a lot of people telling you differing things and, oh, you should do this, you should do this, at the end of the day, it comes down to what you want. And once you make a choice and you're happy, all those people in your life will be happy as well. They will not be disappointed, because at the end of the day, they want to see you happy. So when you focus on what makes you happy, they will be happy for you. And it won't be like, oh, but I really wanted you to choose the thing that I told you to do. That's not at all. You won't be letting anyone down. It really comes down to your fulfillment is going to bring in so much positivity that the opinions and worries of the past won't really have a grip on you like that. Like, it's like this feeling of, you know, all the different scenarios we go through before we make a decision. And then once you make a decision and choose to proceed in that direction, it's like, why did you ever worry that much? Because it just was wasted energy, you know? But hindsight is always 20/20, of course. Okay, so now we're going to roll the dice and see if we can get some confirmations around what area of your life this might affect you in. I'm not surprised that Virgo is coming out. Virgo is definitely like this energy of thinking, the overthinking, the trying to figure out every possibility. We have the first house, which is your house of self and your house of appearance, and very much the house of, yeah, who am I to other people, which is why I think a lot of people are having opinions, or why you feel like people have an influence kind of thing, because it's how people perceive you, and you want to be perceived as secure, even though you might be in this in between phase right now. I don't know if you're in between jobs, in between careers, in between graduating and starting a career or something like that, but you are on your way to success as long as you engage your, oh, you know what? I'm getting this analogy of, imagine if you are doing some kind of workout, and every day you're just following this routine workout, and you're doing the movements, but you're not engaging your muscles. If you don't engage your muscles, you won't gain. You don't gain any muscle, right? There's a million ways to do a sit-up, a million ways to do a squat, but if you're not doing it correctly and you're not engaging the muscles that need to be engaged, then you're not gaining. And this is what this feels like, because this is like doing something because you're supposed to, or like, oh, this is like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm feeling, like this energy of doing a sit-up and doing it completely wrong. So you're actually just like wasting your time, and you're actually probably hurting yourself in a way because you're doing it in the wrong form. And this row is asking you to engage your core, engage your emotions, because once you engage your emotions, that's when you gain strength, that's when you make the bigger moves. And honestly, this could totally be advice for your workout routine, because the first house is also physical appearance. So I'm not a workout expert, but take of that what you will. We also have Uranus coming out, and Uranus is this change. So that's why we're looking at this phase of in between, because it's like you're about to switch gears, you're about to switch lanes. There's definitely like a lot of thought processes happening around what do I value, because it seems to be changing in some capacity. So I'm going to, oh, you know what? I want to pull some emotion cards and just get some more confirmations. I don't think we really need it. I think we got it pretty fleshed out, but I'm telling you, I love to pull cards. Let's get some emotions for group 1. Acceptance. And this is kind of what I was feeling at the beginning of, like, you know, kind of going more with the flow versus trying to control something. So accepting what is meant for you versus trying to squeeze out more. And I especially say squeeze out more because I was just looking at these grapes. Self-critical, we got the confirmation for Virgo and all these swords here. We got self-critical. Definitely like expecting a lot from yourself, and I do feel like you might have some parents or some kind of mentors in your life that expect a lot of you, but I think it's because they respect you so much and they admire like a lot about you. So it's not so much an expectation of like, oh, you better achieve all of this. Maybe it is, you know best, but that's not the vibe that I'm getting from, especially this figure right here. I'm getting more of a vibe of like my son or my daughter is so amazing. Like I can't wait to see what becomes of them. Not like, oh, they better be amazing. I think people can just tell that you are very well-rounded and very mature. And so people are excited to see you grow into who you are becoming. Wow. And we got afraid. We got afraid and nervous. And that's, again, self-critical Virgo. Like there's just this, And I think the way that that popped out, right, as I said, people are excited to see who you are becoming. I think that might be building a lot of pressure for you, especially because we have the first house, because you might be in this phase of becoming, and it might scare you a little bit because it's uncomfortable and you don't even know where you're headed. But if you engage your core, meaning if you engage your emotions, if you keep in mind what is best for you and not just the opinions of others, I think you're well on your way to becoming the best version of yourself. Let's get one of these. And we have renewal. Regeneration begins with decay. Again, this is first house energy because it's like a new you is emerging. Absolutely. Let's get one of this deck. This is advice from Spirit. Let's get some advice. Oh, you know what I just noticed too? The Two of Cups in this depiction, one cup is clean and one is kind of dirty. And I find that interesting because this kind of plays in with this idea of renewal and getting clear about what you really stand for, what you really want. And as I say stand for, this card says, I achieve with integrity. And, you know, I achieve. This Six of Wands, is very much achievement. And the way for you, the way to achievement is keeping your integrity. And integrity means, again, engaging your core and making sure that you are true to yourself, because just following the things that other people think that are best for you, or, you know, the things that other people want for you, you would just be playing a role. You need to live your life with integrity, which means following through with things that are meaningful to you. And we have health. Interesting. You know what? I saw this earlier and I didn't say it, and I don't know why, but again, this Two of Cups, this lion, this symbol right here is the symbol for, or it's part of a variation of the symbol for medicine. So if there is somebody here that is possibly considering like studying medicine, or you have been studying medicine and now you kind of want to switch fields, I could totally see that. I could totally see this idea of like, oh, I'm becoming a doctor because like everyone in my family is working in the medical field, and you know, my father was a doctor, so I need to be a doctor. But you're in it and it's like you're not feeling it. There might be, and again, because I saw this shift of focus just a little bit, there might be a field within medicine that fascinates you. And I'm sorry, that's super particular, like super particular, yeah. And so that doesn't apply for everyone, but it might still be kind of like in that realm. But again, health can also represent first house, your physical appearance. So we're again talking about working out. I don't know, it just keeps coming up. So that might be for someone as well. But health also pertains to mental health, which again means putting yourself and your desires first and acknowledging what makes you happy and not just what brings you stability. Because the things that make us furiously happy are not always the things that bring us material stability, unfortunately. Practice self-care, yeah. You definitely need to make sure that your desires are addressed. I'm getting that so strongly here. Practice self-care to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And if you just focus on addressing the things that you really desire, you will be successful. And people will appreciate that you did it your way. Absolutely. Okay, I think we figured it out. I hope that this was helpful. I really think you just needed a little confirmation, a little adjustment. You are well on your way to doing absolutely great things. And I'm very excited for you. You're going to do well, and people are going to accept you for you. So don't be afraid to be exactly that. Okay? I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much for spending some time with me this evening. Whatever time it is for you, it is evening for me. It feels a little different, more intimate. So I hope to read for you again sometime soon, and until then, take care. Hi group 2, this is your reading if you chose this lovely rhodochrosite. I hope I'm not butchering that. This crystal is good for love and self-love and acceptance and heart chakra things. Well, apparently it wants to lay like that, so it's not too reflecting the sun, the light. What is happening? I had no problem talking through that first reading, and I haven't even started your reading, and my brain is a little jumbled now. Let me take a sip of water. I feel like you need some water too. Okay, let's try this. So we are taking a look at what Spirit wants you to release. It'll be one row, what Spirit wants you to release, what Spirit wants you to harness, and then what your possible rewards are if you do, in fact, listen. So let's take a look. What does Spirit want you to release? Is that one? Yes, that is one. We got the Knight of Swords. Group 2. I'm getting, yeah, this makes sense. From this, I'm getting like this energy of something from the past for whatever reason. Something from the past that is sticking, a memory that is sticking. And then we have the Fool, which very much kind of goes hand in hand with that. Like, because if they want you to release that thought process, that pattern, that there's something there thought-wise, like a familiar thought that they want you to release and kind of like wash yourself clean from that. And I say that because the Fool is typically a clean slate. Okay, and now I'm getting, we have the Hierophant. I'm getting that this might be a belief system or either a system, something that you've used to be very involved or engaged in. But if it's not a system, then it's a belief that you hold about yourself. And I say that especially because this, like I said, represents self-love. So this may be a belief that you hold about yourself that they want you to release and free yourself of, because it's a limitation that you have on yourself. Another way of reading this is also to free yourself of limitations from the past that perhaps other people have set on you. So whether that is an ex or I'm getting strongly like a previous relationship of any sort. So whether that is an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, or an ex-husband, wife. Especially because we have the Hierophant here, it might be a previous marriage. Something that doesn't feel like it's currently in your life anymore, but the aftermath of it is still affecting you in some way. Especially if we're looking at divorce kind of things, like the aftermath of severing two lives that had become one, then there is this release of that splitting off, and accepting that you are now an entity of one. Let me see what else I can get from this. I'm also getting this feeling of releasing the idea that you have everything figured out. Releasing, because we have the sword and we have these keys here, and the Fool is all about approaching things from a beginner's mind. So let's take a look now at what Spirit would like for you to harness. And so harness means these are energies that you already have at your disposal. It's just a matter of engaging them. And we have the Nine of Wands. And we have the Ten of Wands. Getting strongly like this kind of idea of like packing up your things and going. I only wanted one. So what I've been doing lately is when I have two cards come out, I take a look at them, I take them into consideration, but I put them back and ask for just one. So we're going to do that. We have the Eight of Coins and we have the Three of Cups. So in terms of feeling like packing up your things and going, packing up your lessons learned and moving on, this is also very much of focusing on the work that is ahead of you, the things that you've integrated already, and just kind of focusing on how to make things better now. Let's get just one, please, for what to harness. Yes, self-love. What to harness? Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups. So in terms of what to harness, because we have this Nine of Wands and the Ten of Wands, and I'm so strongly getting this story of a breakup or a divorce or some kind of, even if this is like a job that you left behind, I do think that this was something that at some point in time you very strongly believed in it. Your conviction was that this was a long haul situation, and so because of that you have all these wands, because it's like you had all these hopes and dreams and expectations for the situation, and now you're kind of left with all these sticks that represent that, these wands. And it's like, well, but I had all these things not invested, but it's like, it's almost like, imagine if these wands were like plants in your garden, and this is the relationship, whatever shape it was, whether it was a marriage or a committed relationship or a job situation, whatever type of relationship this was, it was like, okay, now you have to leave, and you're like, but I planted all these plants in my garden. Like, was that for nothing? And Spirit is just like, okay, no, you You didn't plant those in vain. And of course, this is an analogy because these plants represent more so things that you've learned, situations that you have overcome previously with this other person or situation. Just things where you evolved, and every time you evolved, another plant grew in your garden, right? So now Spirit is like, no, that wasn't for nothing. You get to keep those. You get to keep that knowledge, and you get to keep the accomplishment of having overcome that, because the 10 of Wands is, the 10 is like, it's done, it's over. And then moving on to the 9 of Cups is like, you overcame that, and this is what Spirit wants you to harness, meaning again the energy is already present. You just need to focus on this, release this, focus on this. The 9 of Wands is very much like the warrior, the exhausted warrior energy. But in this deck I really like the depiction because he's, in other decks, he's always kind of wounded. He has like bandages around his head. And in this deck, I often initially, I often confuse it for the 6 of Wands, because he looks like he's got everything under control. And so in this deck, I always feel like the energy is a little bit less intense in terms of like the exhaustion aspect. It's just, like I said, your garden is full of these plants that were lessons and insights and revelations that you've made over the years, and you get to keep those. You get to take those with you. And it's a lot to carry. That doesn't make it easier, right? I mean, if you think about a move, again, I don't know if you're physically moving, but I am seeing like some kind of movement away from something. And moves are exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of physical and emotional labor that we do when we move. When we, uproot somewhere and pack up all our stuff and box after box, carry our belongings from place A to place B. It's a lot of emotional labor. So I do think that Spirit wants you to acknowledge that you are really showing up for yourself. They want you to focus on showing up for yourself. I think there is a decision that has been made. And it's interesting because in the last reading, it's like it was more like mid-decision, and this is like a point, I feel, where you've already made this decision, you've already been dealing with the aftermath of it, and this is meant as a confirmation of like the worst is behind you. So keep going, because let's take a look at what your rewards are coming up. See, what are the rewards? We have the King of Swords, and look at that, we go from the Knight of Swords to the King of Swords, and the Knight of Swords, look at, they're even faced in different directions. And look at, I didn't even realize the 9 of Wands too, right? The Knight of Swords is still kind of looking at this mess. We have this tower moment that he's focused on, and the red is like all over the place, right? And then the 9 of Wands is already faced in another direction. Like, I'm focused on making sure I get all my wands into my moving truck. And then the King of Swords, like, he is not in battle. He is like chilling with his plants and very much focused on harvesting. It's not fruit. It's, what is it, wheat? But, harvesting. The King of Swords is definitely already not facing this old situation anymore, but already moved on. So feeling good about the decisions from the past. Again, we're looking at the rewards. Group 2. Yes. The Six of Swords. Absolutely. I couldn't pick a better card if I wanted to. The Six of Swords, moving on. The Six of Swords is all about moving on to calmer waters and taking the knowledge that you have with you. These swords are knowledge and experience and wisdom, and you're taking that with you. You're not empty-handed whatsoever. Rewards. And we have the Page of Cups. I think this is really lovely because we go from the Nine of Cups to the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups is like a gentle kind of starting over, and like it's just this idea of being hopeful. Again, if you're coming out of some kind of emotional relationship, then this does feel like being hopeful again towards romance or love. Like just seeing, I heard seeing colors again. Seeing colors that you didn't think were there anymore, you know, just having feelings that you didn't feel for a long time, and just kind of like a youthful rejuvenation. That's really lovely. And we have the Hermit at the bottom of the deck, very much representing that this is a solo tour. This is something that you have to explore on your own. Again, we're looking at self-love. This is something that you, again, I do feel you are either, there's some kind of severance of a job or a severance of a relationship in some shape or form, and it's now about you moving on for you, and you didn't lose out, you didn't waste your time or anything like that. But I think if you focus on the fact that if you focus on gaining and taking all the experience with you and showing kindness to yourself, knowing that you always did the best with what you knew at the time, you'll regain a lot of confidence as well. I'm gonna pull some, or actually, let me do the dice first. So we're gonna roll the Astro dice to get some confirmation around what areas of your life this may be about. I mean, I'm sorry, I just love it when it's so accurate. I just love it. Okay, so we have Cancer. We have the 8th house, and we have Saturn. So the 8th house is, the 8th house and Saturn together, that just kind of screams divorce to me. The 8th house is the house of other people's money. So that would be like money that you get through inheritance, money that you get from the government, those kinds of things, because it's also representative of taxes. But that is always kind of like the go-to answer. Really what the 8th house represents is a complete melding, a meshing of different entities, something coming together and completely like meshing. And that's the 8th house is the natural home of Scorpio. Like things just melt together. And so then having Saturn is a very restrictive energy. Having Saturn with the 8th house to me kind of represents either that this energy became suffocating, or that there is that severing, that it doesn't actually, you know, it's like they're a reversal of that melding. And then we have Cancer, which is a very, you know, the stereotype is that Cancer energy is just very emotional, but in reality it's letting emotions come to the surface so that they can be healed. It is a very, and this is very much represented in the Six of Swords, sorry. The Six of Swords and the Page of Cups down here. This is very much like a feel it to heal it kind of situation. So this Cancer energy is definitely asking you to deal with the feelings that come up, which might be very deep and intense feelings, but it's something that has to be gone through. I know that's an awful way of saying it, but it has to be gone through. Saturn, it's also very possible that we're looking at somebody's Saturn return here, because that feels very appropriate as well, which, you know, this feels like this feels like the tail end of a intense lesson around self and who you are in relation to others, and how to take yourself out of an enmeshment. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to pull some emotion cards now for some further confirmation for group 2, some emotions. Afraid. And I think afraid kind of pertains to, here we started off with this keeping your eyes on the mess, and it might be because you're dealing with the aftermath of a situation, and it's like you possibly were in it for so long that it kind of feels safer to stay focused on that, rather than focus on the new fresh start that you have, because that is like, what is it? I don't know what it is, right? So it's kind of easier to focus on the past. And Spirit wants you to trust that you made the right decision, trust that you've gained a lot from this experience, and trust that you are headed in the right direction. And also, whatever kind of severing this was in the past, it might have affected your trust, and it might have, again, because we're dealing with this deep enmeshment with other people, it might, and Saturn is also a job, so again, this could be a severing of a job. It might be that you're having trust issues when it comes to trusting your own judgment, because you felt very entangled in whatever this was. Interesting. This was very hesitant. I don't know if you saw that on camera. It like wanted to come out and then it didn't. But we have jealousy and we have melancholy at the bottom of the deck. And the melancholy, I'm feeling like, goes well with the Six of Swords. It's like, it's a sad, it's a moving on, but it's a sad moving on. It's not, it doesn't feel like, I'm sure it does overall feel like a relief, but there is some melancholy around, like, did I waste my time here? I'm not quite sure how this jealousy plays in, aside from it does kind of fit with this energy, the Knight of Swords, so I don't know if whoever you were dealing with in the past was kind of like a jealous energy, or they made you feel jealous because there was some kind of insecurity. Jealousy does go well with the 8th house as well. So I'm also hearing like anxious attachment. So it might just be that there's some healing that needs to happen around, yeah, again, I'm feeling like some healing around your self-love, and that didn't really have anything to do with the severing of the situation or whatever it was. But I'm also strongly feeling right now that if this jealousy has to do, again, there was some type of severing, right? You were a part of a unit and it got severed. again, if this was a relationship or a marriage, then this jealousy might have to do with seeing how the other party is doing and feeling like they are better off than you. If that will not be for everyone. If that is the case, and same for if it was a job, they just moved on and hired someone new. Don't waste any time on feeling like the other party is winning in some capacity, because as we see in the rest of the spread, it doesn't matter, because it's not about them. It's absolutely not about them. Their energy is not in here, because this is all about your new start, your fresh start. This is all about your clean slate and you moving on and rediscovering like a beauty to life moving forward. So you really don't need to be concerned with what the other party is experiencing. So let's pull an oracle card. Just one of these, please. We have radical honesty, and I think that is lovely, because this is, to me, all about being radically honest with yourself, acknowledging what you've been through, acknowledging how much you've been carrying, and really acknowledging like that you deserve more than what you've received in the past. Radical honesty. To believe in the facade is to suffocate in the armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. Wow, that is powerful. Because that might be something that you're coming from, especially because I do feel like this was like a long running, because this enmeshment was so strong. This was like a long running thing. Saturn's energy is also very slow moving. Cancer doesn't like to give things up, especially like the 8th house. Like these are all energies that really just take a long time to undo. And so I do feel like this armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. You might have been dealing with self-defeat and self-denial for a long time. And so Spirit really wants you to release that and let go of that and be radically honest about areas of your life where you've made yourself smaller. Let's get some advice. This one. I do the best I can. That is so beautiful, because that is what I said earlier. It's all about accepting the fact that in the past, you are addressing things from a different vantage point now. Hindsight is always 20/20. And in the past, you did the best that you could with the knowledge that you had, with the awareness that you had. And going forward, you have a different level of awareness and a different level of knowledge and self-acceptance. And so you will make different choices. So you did not waste any time. You did not lose out. You had to go through that experience so that you had this garden full of plants. And you will do the best that you can to move on. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Spirit does want you to move on and to give yourself a clean slate, but don't pressure yourself too much. Emotions are absolutely human. Now, let's get one of these. That went flying. Let me pick it up. And we have guides, yes. I think you are definitely heavily protected by Spirit. I do think that you feel you've gone through a lot of this process alone. In a sense, and I know this is not easy to hear, but in a sense, I believe that Spirit is kind of like you had to go through it alone so that you would believe that you could do it, you know? It's kind of like you can tell people, oh, you can, yeah, sure, you can lift that heavy box, and if you don't do it, then you might not believe that you can lift it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of like the feeling that I'm getting. But your guides were right beside you the whole time, and what they really wanted you to go through this process in a way that you could now look back and really be proud of yourself with that Nine of Cups, really proud of the progress that you made, because you're like, wow, I did that. I took every plant from that garden and moved it to a new home, you know? And one last oracle card. Dive in. Yes. We have dive in. We sometimes need to remember what we're not soldered. We sometimes need to remember that we're not soldered to the rails of life. Throw your hands up and enjoy the ride. I think that's just so lovely, because it's exactly that. It's like you're coming over the edge of this waterfall, but I hope you can see it. They're like in a little, like in a, my goodness, what are they called? In like a little water park ride. Like a little roller coaster. And this really just confirms, like, you're on the right track. You are supposed to enjoy this. It's like you graduated from something and you're supposed to enjoy this, and the hard part is over. You were protected throughout. You learned a lot. None of those lessons were in vain. And now you're going to be approaching a phase of your life where you kind of rediscover, I think, a lot of beauty. And you're supposed to really dive in and enjoy it and release. I don't think that the past has a major hold on you, because it was really just this first card, and other than that, I think you're very much focused on just moving on. And so I'm here to confirm for you that Spirit is like, yes, you've made the right choice, you've not wasted any of your efforts, and you are headed in the right direction. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this resonated. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Pile 3, Group 3. This is your reading, and this is your crystal. Beautiful amethyst tower. We're going to set that right up here. And then we're going to get right into your reading. So we're going to take a look at what Spirit wants you to release, what Spirit wants you to harness, which is energies that are already present for you that you just need to take advantage of, and then what Spirit possibly will be rewarding you with if you do so. So this is, again, kind of like an extended deck because it has oracle cards built in. So just a heads up, with this deck I do not typically read reversals. It's case by case, but this deck has a lot of variety and a lot of energies. So typically I don't read reversals because I don't need to in this deck. It's pretty straightforward. So again, for Group 3, we are taking a look at what Spirit wants you to release. What Group 3 needs to release. That is 2 cards. I would like one at a time, please. But we will take both of these. There is definitely a overanalyzing of other people's opinions going on. Oop, this one wants out. Interesting. I feel, so let me tell you, we have the Ace of Swords, we have the Seven of Swords, and we have the Page of Wands. I think that this is about taking the opinions of others to heart too much. And also perhaps not speaking up for yourself enough. When people cause you hurt, anger, or any kind of upset emotion, I think you close your eyes to that too much, and you internalize a lot of that. And I think you seek fault within yourself before seeking fault within others. So let's say somebody tells you something that's like just not nice to hear. Instead of being like, wow, that person is really rude, you think, what did I do to upset them like this? Or are they right? You really kind of, and I'm getting a lot of mental energy and I'm getting a lot of communication energy, so I think you really take words to heart. I also do think that you might have, I think you are overly sensitive, but I don't think that's a negative thing. I think sensitivity is often categorized as something negative by people who don't want to take accountability for their actions. I myself am a sensitive person, so I don't want you to take offense to me saying that you might be overly sensitive. I think that you are just a sensitive person in general, and other people might not fully understand the scope of your sensitivity. And I think you are sensitive in a way that you overcompensate for your sensitivity, because then you make excuses and say like, well, they don't know that I'm this sensitive, or it's just because I'm overly sensitive that, so then you start to combat their insensitivity with your sensitivity. So you will make excuses for other people when they didn't even know that they should be making excuses for themselves. This is a kind of situation where we create like fake arguments in our head, right? So where we have conversations with people that we don't have in real life, but where in private we tell them, you know what, that really kind of hurt my feelings when you said that. But then in our mind, in that fake conversation, they say, well, but you didn't tell me that that upset you, or how am I supposed to know what triggers you? And then that's when you're like, you're right, like I'm just being overly sensitive, like I shouldn't put that on you to just know. And yet at the end of the day, you're not communicating any of this. You're going through this in your mind. That's what it feels like to me. And again, this is something that Spirit wants you to release, because this is a sabotaging behavior. You're not, it doesn't feel like you're openly communicating how you feel. You're trying to mitigate exposure and you're trying to control confrontation. You're trying to keep confrontation to a minimum, but by doing that, you're just internalizing that confrontation a lot, and then you have to deal with it on the inside. And it's just all these like different, you see all these different like angry little faces, they're all like bouncing around within you, and that's really not healthy. Also, we have the amethyst, and amethyst definitely is like a highly like sensitive energy. It connects strongly to your crown and your third eye. So it is very much like you just being very aware of other people's motivations and emotions, and I don't think that they are as aware of yours. So we're taking a look now at what Spirit wants you to embrace. We have the Six of Coins. Sharing in this sense, I think, is sharing like what you're going through, the hurt. Like, look at this swordfish. You know, these people, can you see it? Focus. It's like these people are using this swordfish to catch other fish, and look at how terrified he looks, right? And these merfolk are like all happy, and it's just, it doesn't seem like a great situation for the swordfish to be in, because he's killing other fish. And the Six of Coins is all about sharing and community, and I think this is more so in this scenario about sharing that you're not doing well, you know, you're not feeling like your needs are addressed. Yes, we have Uranus. You need to make sure that your boundaries are respected. Look at his face. It's like enough is enough. But Uranus is also a sign that is about altruism. And so I do feel like your way of mitigating confrontation is you think that you're being fair because you're like, I strongly relate to this because I have a Libra Mars in my 12th house, and that's very much what this feels like. It's like trying to fight battles on your own in the dark instead of getting everyone involved, but that's not being altruistic, because you're not giving people an opportunity to speak their part, or you're not giving yourself the opportunity to speak your part. So altruism should really involve everyone, and that also means you, because if you're not involving yourself, then it's not altruism, then it's martyrdom, being a martyr. And other people don't even know it. Want to harness. I want one at a time, please. We are going to take a look at these, but then we're going to ask for just one. Oh my god, it's three actually. So we have the Lovers, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Two of Pentacles. This is very much consider what makes you happy and follow that. And again, that was on the line of what to harness. Consider what makes you happy and follow that. You're not taking yourself into account enough. One card, please, for what to harness. One card, please. What to harness. We have the Eight of Coins. I think in this context, the Eight of Coins is speaking about what you are deserving of. The Eight of Coins is about mastery. The Eight of Coins is about putting your head down and focusing on your work. But in this context and with this card, because in this deck all cards are represented by constellations, and this one is, sheesh, I don't know how to, I'm going to butcher it, Horologium. Horologium. I wonder if that's somehow, no. Anyway, it stands for time, milestones, and progression. And I do feel like when we're thinking about time as we know it at this point in time, time is linear and it always moves forward, which is why we have progression and milestones. And I think Spirit is saying that you're at a point where the only way to go is forward. And in order to go forward, it's like you have to face all of these things that you've not been facing. And I think progression in your case is speaking up for yourself and voicing, learning a way to voice the things that you are experiencing. Uranus is also about communication. Communicating that things are not equal as the way you're experiencing them right now. And I'm also like, as I'm looking at this, I'm like hearing the rain outside, but it just kind of sounds like a ticking. It's like tick, tick, tick. And it just feels like the time has come. It's like you're at a point in time where the time has come. You cannot go backwards. You need to go forwards. You need to progress. And the way to progress is to express yourself and express the things that are causing you pain, anxiety, and not keeping it in anymore. So we're going to pull some cards of what your rewards may be if you do step up for yourself. What are your rewards for doing so? We have the Five of Coins, which the Five of Coins in this deck is actually a very lovely energy. I really like it because it's about resources, craftsmanship, and labor. And I really like this imagery because it really speaks to me about like coming together and not so much. The Five of Coins in like traditional decks is very much about lack mentality, but in this deck it focuses on like, okay, this is what we do have. Where can we go from there? And I think this is exactly what Spirit is saying, that once you express yourself and your sensitivity, then you give people an opportunity, a chance to respond. And then you can build from there. Let's keep going. What is... We have the Three of Wands, which is expression, confidence, and communication in this deck. I think that is so beautiful. And look at I really like this imagery because, first of all, we have the toucan here, very much about, in all blue, throat chakra vibes, all about communication. And then there's these two ladies here in the dark that are having like a heart-to-heart. This is absolutely very much about you opening up to the people in your life, perhaps just one if you don't feel safe opening up to just everyone, but just to air out those things that are bouncing around in your head. And once you air them out, I think there will be people that receive them in a way that is constructive, where you can really like make sense of things more. Ah, so beautiful. The last card out is Pluto. Finality, distance, and separation. But You know it by my name. I'm a Plutonian. Pluto is a deeply powerful transmutive energy. So being able to go from this, look at, she has this sea creature has one eye. Sea creature being like living in water, super sensitive. This is always giving me Neptune vibes. Here, this figure that represents Pluto technically has two eyes, but one is covered by this snake. So just one eye, but it's open. And she is so powerful. Similar vibes, and yet a completely different level of confidence. I just think that if you accept that it is time to stand your ground and open up and communicate about your needs, I think people in your life will be receptive to them. I'm also, and this is not in any way any kind of diagnosis, but if you struggle with mental health, I think that, and I'm saying mental health, but I do mean a lot of things in that regard. Also, if you feel that you might be neurodivergent, if you might struggle with ADHD, I'm getting like a deep, long, a long, deep-rooted struggle. And I think you've put it on yourself so much. Like it feels very much like, oh, there's something wrong with me, and you've internalized it so much that Spirit is like, it's time to address it. And once you address it, I feel like your life just becomes more constructive, because once you name something, once you figure out, then you can figure out, once you figure out what you're dealing with, then you can figure out how to progress and move forward. And then people will understand better how to interact with you. It's kind of like, this almost feels, and that's why I say neurodivergent, because this almost feels like you speak a different language than the people that you engage with the most. And you keep thinking, oh, it's my fault because I speak a different language. It's my fault that they don't understand me correctly. But you're not telling them that you're speaking a different language. And so there's like this miscommunication, there's this disconnect. And this row would be harnessing and accepting the fact that, okay, it's time to tell people. And then you tell people, hey, you know, sometimes I don't understand you because I think I speak a different language. And then that helps people to be like, oh, okay, like, well then let me try and understand your language, and then we can go from there. And this will help you so much with your confidence and being like, oh, okay, there wasn't anything wrong with me. I just speak a different language. Does that make sense? Sometimes, when we go on vacation in another country, or even if people move to another country, when you don't know the language, a lot of times you feel inferior when you don't know the language. And yet in your native language, you might be the smartest person, right? I can sound so incredibly well put together in English, but my Spanish is awful, and I will sound like I'm not very smart when I speak Spanish. But that's just because it is not my native language. So I feel like you feel like you're being judged in not your native language. And communicating with people like, hey, this isn't my native language, again, this is an analogy, but still communicating with people, saying like, hey, this is just uncomfortable for me, and it's difficult for me to communicate with you in this way. Could we try a different way? It's going to empower you so much, because people will understand, and if the people in your life won't understand, first of all, I do think that these energies up here, that is mostly in your head, that this is a fear that people will react this or that way. And yet I do think that people in your life will be a lot more understanding once you actually voice how you feel. And then as a confirmation at the bottom of the deck, we do have the Two of Coins again, which is just very much this duality. There's like this managing, I mean, this is like a literal maze, this managing of expectations, and just trying to juggle it all. I think you are, I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong with you, but I think you act like there is. And once you address that there's something different, again, there's nothing wrong with you, there's something different in how you interact with people. And I think once you address that, it will empower you in a way that you can't imagine at this point in time. So let's get I'm rolling my Astro Dice to get some confirmations about which areas of your life this may affect. Absolutely. Gosh, I love it. I just love these dice. They're so on point every time. We have the third house, which is the house of communication. Absolutely. This is the house of communication. This is also the house of siblings and your close community. So this is really like thought processes. And then we have Leo, which is, doing something your own way. And we have Pluto, and we ended down here with Pluto. There's a change, and Leo is also about confidence. So there's a change in how you communicate and how you express yourself. This is absolutely beautiful. This change is necessary, and once you manage to get through that hurdle, I think you are going to be like, wow, I should have done this sooner. And if the people in your life, I think, will be just fine with you expressing yourself, but if there are people that do have issues with it, I think you will find your people somewhere else. There's definitely a community that is going to understand you, and that might be online, that might be somewhere else removed from where you are physically, but there is a community out there that is understanding of you, and I think it's going to really boost your confidence. Nervous. The other thing I'm getting right now is that there might be some kind of speech impediment that you deal with. It's definitely like a strong feeling of like not wanting to speak up. You might get too nervous whenever you try to have a confrontation, whenever you try to express yourself. You might get too nervous and you just clam up, and you're frustrated because these things do want to get out. You do feel that. You want to express yourself, but you're just like, it's not coming out when you want it to. Discomfort. It's causing you discomfort. It needs to come out. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have trust. You need to trust that you are safe to express yourself. Let's get some oracle cards. And I just want to say that I know that this isn't easy. I don't want to make it sound like this is easy. I just want to confirm that this is a necessary point in life that you're at. So we have radical honesty, and I will say I did get this for another reading, but I think this is very fitting for you as well. To believe in the facade is to suffocate in the armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. Absolutely, self-denial is the word here. Your self-denial causes you to hold in a lot of things that need to be let out, that need to be communicated. Radical honesty is what Spirit is asking of you, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot of bravery. So I'm pulling more oracle cards, but just as an advice, you know, try to find ways that you can communicate in a way that you are comfortable. So that might be writing down the things you want to say, communicating them via written word before you speak them out loud, practicing, running by someone else what you want to say first. Really just trying to figure out, maybe you have to express yourself creatively. Maybe you have to put your emotions into art or music, any kind of creative expression, you know, something that opens the conversation, and then you show it to the person you want to talk to, and then they ask for clarification, and then you get to explain it, you know. There's a lot of different ways that you can communicate. So let's get some advice from Spirit. I advance through my own abilities. And she is in all blue, which is throat chakra energy. I advance through my own abilities, I think confirms that you are very capable. You're very capable of this next step that that Spirit is asking of you. At the bottom of the deck we have I do good, but look at how her hand is at her throat and this energy is going out, which I do good. And you know, she's not speaking, she's crying here a little bit, she's not speaking, but I think this very much confirms that you need to let it out in order to do good. You can't keep it in, that doesn't help anyone. Let's get one of these. We have the Sun, which is also Leo energy, and look at how free this lady is. And we have a Leo right there, and it's very much like standing in your power, standing in your truth, shedding light onto something and accepting light being shed onto you. At the bottom of the deck we have Hive, because you are supported. There is a community, there are people that care about how you feel, and they might actually, once you fully express how you really feel, they might actually be very hurt in a sense. They might be very sad to hear that you've been holding all these things in and that you didn't trust them with this previously. But that's not a reason to keep that in longer, you know. We have two cards come out. We have Authenticity is Sweet, very much standing in your own power. I used to be a thing, I am a person now. Authenticity is sweet. You are meant to stand in your power, and you are not alone. The moon is a friend for the lonesome to talk to. You are not alone, confirming once again that once you express yourself, your emotions, once you express your emotions, you are supported. You are not alone. And if you find yourself in a community where you are shamed for fully expressing your emotions, then you are not at home there. Then you do not need to remain there. Then you are just speeding along the process of freeing yourself up, freeing up the energies around you to create space for energies that do support you, okay? All right, I'm sending you so much love because I do feel like you deserve it. You need it. You just need that little push. You're very capable of addressing what needs to be addressed. You just need to understand that the fact that you are feeling things is enough reason to cause a scene. That's what I feel like. I feel like you think talking about your emotions too much is causing a scene. And first of all, it's not. But second of all, even if it was, cause a damn scene. Cause a scene because your emotions are real and you are allowed to not just feel them, but to express them and to move through them. You do not have to regulate your emotions just to the benefit of others. And once they are expressed, you might find that there are ways to manage them in very different ways. I am saying all of this without judgment and just pure encouragement in my heart for you. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it confirmed some things for you, and I'm grateful that you were here to spend some time with me today, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.